right, everybody. Welcome to Decide to Dominate, episode 2. We are so pumped to be with you here again today. Once again, I am not in the room with DJ. He's a lone man on an island there by himself in the Decide to Dominate headquarters. We have a very special guest with us on today, Mr. Darnell Dinkins. This man is also a legend, like our last guest. He is a Super Bowl. He is a Super Bowl winner. He has 3 amazing children that I know of that play athletics, 2 of which are on the Penn State team. There might be a discussion around Penn State on this call. I'm thinking that might be a little bit of discussion today. Pittsburgh grad from Pennsylvania, amazing all-around dude, doing some awesome stuff in the business space. And I just met this gentleman not too long ago and have just been enthralled with everything he's doing with helping collegiate athletes with NIL, helping entrepreneurs. He has his own business platform that he's working on and, teaching and education and just all the things. So, Darnell, we are just really excited to have you on today. Thank you for taking the time. And DJ and I both love that shirt you're wearing.
That's right. Pray more, worry less. So first and foremost, just what you guys are doing with Innovation Exports has been amazing. Mike, all the things and accomplishments you had, just hats off to you. DJ, you was actually the first time I ever met you was in the electronic football, man. Like we had the little figures and it was on a little vibrating board. Like,
what? You have to get that. You have to get one of those in the office.
Exactly.
Right. Well, the question is though, is it bow-legged or not?
It was bow-legged and your arms stayed like this. You carried the ball right here and you ran. Once I put a quarter underneath your base, you got even faster. So Wade Wilson was throwing passes. Anthony Carter was going out for passes. Like I was all about electronic football. And it was, this is almost like a dream come true, being able to have a nice conversation with 2 amazing men and one who you knew since the time you even didn't know about football. So thank you guys for both having me on.
Yeah, well, Darnell, it's great to see you on the show here. From the first time I met you, of course, you're a big guy, and when you show up, even in a crowd, you stand out. But before we get into all that, with that name, Darnell Dinkins, I mean, you had to play football, right?
Right.
I'm sure you got the double D's. That was right. I'm curious, like, what are some of the nicknames that you came across growing up?
It's like stages, right? When I was a kid, it was DJ because my name is Darnell Joseph, and then it go into Deej. And as you guys know, when you play college sports, everybody call you by your last name. Mm-hmm. So then it goes to Dink, right? And then as you mature out of it, it goes to Darnell, and then kind of found my name going into Joseph. So I've been having 15 different names. You know what I mean?
Evolution.
Right. Evolution is a real thing. It includes names, and I would say that. It also spoke to maturity, and I could say now that coming out, one of my main initiatives have been when you play professional sports, there's so much that goes into becoming a consistent athlete. But you start looking at some of the guys that transition out who have real medical issues, medical concerns. Right now, one of the most significant things about NIL and or business is learning to be able to transition from high school to college to professionals if you get a chance, and then professional to the real world, because transferable skills is a real thing, and injuries and, concussions and, all the things that go along with it. I think awareness and helping is key for the athletes that we deal with. So those are some of the things that, God has just aligned me with. And the more you can be able to mature and get in the word and find a consistent habit, life and transitions become a little bit more routine and easy.
Got it. I'm really curious, as a tight end, especially in the pro ranks. It's a tough position because tight end is a tough position anyway.
Right.
Because one of those
the hardest position on the football field, by the way.
Because you've got a block on the line, right? So you're taking on defensive linemen and defensive ends, especially, and in some cases, right?
Right.
But you're also a big part of the offense in terms of receivers.
Right.
Receiving. So talk about the difference between college and pros as a tight end.
Let's talk about the evolution of the position overall. The position was learned as a 6-man on the line to be able to extend or set the edge of an offense when you have a phenomenal running back behind you. Look at the guys that Penn State have right now who are just, really a tremendous 1-2 punch. look at some of the greats like Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders ran in almost a run and shoot. So the things that he was able to do in that system was pretty phenomenal. But you implement a tight end to be able to engage with a defensive end or outside linebacker. So when I look at my career, I started as a quarterback, in high school, and understood the offense totally. Went to Pitt as a number one recruit. Me and Brandon Short, who was at Penn State, great. We were 1 and 2 in Pennsylvania coming out our senior years. And he ended up going to Pitt. I chose not to go to Penn State, went to Pitt. Don't judge me or hold that against me. I understand we are.
That's okay. Your boys did. We'll get into that later.
Right, exactly. Right. And it just is a position that when I went to Pitt, I ended up playing, quarterback, receiver, safety, linebacker, drove the team bus. I washed clothes. I cleaned the locker room. They had me doing everything at Pitt. You know what I mean? When they said, we don't got guys your size and your speed, so we need you to do everything.
Right.
As I continued to evolve, I found the knowledge of the game that made it simple. Simple to the point where I was starting to think more like a coach and less like a player because I played so many positions. So when I got to the Giants, long story short, I was playing semi-pro ball, had a game where I threw for 700 yards and 7 touchdowns in one game, had a workout with the New York Dragons at East Rutherford Stadium, they had the white bubble wall side of it. Go inside, I'm throwing a ball, about 300 people in the space. A Giant scout by the name of Larry Ennis come over and falls right beside me. I help him up. He said, I was just coming to see how good you looked as a quarterback throwing a ball. I could have been in the rep. I could have been on the field but he came over, said that, and I had the game saved from past experiences. I sent up to New York, and they allowed me to come into the team. At that point, going through training camp, I went to NFL Europe. Was the third string quarterback over there with T. Martin, Romero Miller. Ended up playing tight end, and we had made it all the way to the championship. And I was the first guy on the field, the last one to leave. Coach came in the room saying, "Hey, you guys are laughing at Dink being the first one on the field, which I think I'm gonna tell his NFL team with the way he prepares." So I get back to the Giants facility, and the same thing happened. I'm a quarterback. I don't get any reps the first couple of days of training camp. DJ, you know how training camp is we try to do the installs first, second down was cool. So I get an opportunity the third day of camp. I get in X pylon Z spear, throw a pass for 60-yard touchdown. Jim Foster look at Sean Payton, who was a quarterback coach at the time, and said, "Man, this kid is something." So they said, "Well, we had a chance to make the team." So I said, "Well, I'll play tight end." So every single day, I'm going against Michael Strahan. So my
training.
Right. My I broke my virginity in terms of the tight end position in the live goal line scrimmage against Michael Strahan with Ron Dane in the back. 4 times, grabbed them up, and the rest they say it's history.
That's amazing. Well, right. I mean, what's interesting is that so you played quarterback. I mean, I hope you have some film. So I need to see some of that.
I'll show you something. You'll be like, I could throw about 75 yards on one knee. So I had a rocket forearm. I was probably more of it was when Cordell Stewart was kind of doing a position change thing. But I was probably more of your zone read RPO quarterback now. And so being able to take those old quarterback things and knowing the offense allowed me to transition to tight end. So I had to learn how to block one of the greatest tight end coaches, Mike Pope with the New York Giants, Coach Mark Bavaro, Jeremy Shockey, and just learn to run routes, So you look at the tight ends now like Kerry Kittles, like the Jeremy Shockeys, they are fast guys that create mismatches. You look at the Penn State tight ends and what they're doing this season, over 11 touchdowns already to the 3 of the group is tremendous. And you start to understand the significance of being able to have an outlet from a Brent Jones with the 49ers to Jay Novacek with the Cowboys to a Eric Green with the Steelers, Mr. Jordan up with the Vikings, it became a position that you can use a bigger receiver type body to create intermediate passes right in the middle of the field. If he can create a mismatch with a linebacker who might be slower or safety might be smaller, and the position just continues to evolve today.
It
Yeah,
is
no, I mean,
interesting when you were talking about it at the very beginning of it, I was thinking, and you named the teams like those 80s and 90s, like the Cowboys, the 49ers, like those teams kind of coming along seemed like the beginning of that transition or somewhere in the middle there. And now looking at like, the West Coast offense and Kansas City and everything they're doing. I mean, with Kelsey and, like it's such a big part of the game now. You mentioned not just like open up play action, but like middles, quick hits, like all the things. There's just
The
so much
game
now.
is the game is so fast, Mike, right? That if you look at every team that won, even the Super Bowl last year, you got two dynamic teams with the Eagles and the Chiefs. But the game is so fast, you need that intermediate game to be on lock. And you think about every team that really gets a chance to win and go far in the playoffs, usually has some type of intermediate passing game where Travis Kelsey has changed the game in the middle of the field for
Right.
what a tight end should do. The Eagles, when you got to throw everything on the outskirts as good as you can, as good as you are, it definitely limits your opportunities when you got to make those very long throws. You can pressure a quarterback, but when you constantly have, emergency outlets with the tight end, it changes the game. And if you got a good running game with that, now the play action pass, the linebackers are now scooting up with the big running game. You have huge gains when you got guys that can run. And I think that's, things what you see in a college game and in a professional game where when teams start to play that, that RPO, that play action pass, and you can really establish 3 to 4 yards a gain on the run game, the screen game become really significant. The tight end, passes at that 10 to 15-yard range over the middle becomes a real intricate part of the offense. And you're starting to see that be established in the NFL and in the college football game.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's terrific. So, we've heard about quarterbacks, from high school or college transitioning to receivers. We've heard quarterbacks like Ron or Michael Robinson
Right.
out of Penn State
Right.
transitioning from quarterback to fullback or running
Right.
back, right? Ron Curry out of Carolina, he was a quarterback in high school.
Yep.
He became a receiver in the pros. To go from quarterback to tight end, that's a major, major transition. I'm interested, though, speaking of quarterbacks. So you were part of the touchdown club, or I should say, Drew Brees' touchdown club
Absolutely.
with New Orleans. Can you talk about that a little bit?
When you talk about guys who are good, I start to think that the position is more of a cerebral position where guys start to anticipate throws. The real good quarterbacks is throwing to spots, not throwing to guys because they understand what the offense is going to do. Kerry Collins, a great Penn State quarterback, did that my first year in the NFL. I really was amazed at his level of accuracy. Now, once he got sacked, it became a different thing. Ball security was a big thing. But when you watch Drew Brees, just the way he approaches the game from a cerebral standpoint, going through all of his drops, all the play actions, all the pass game, thinking of all of the, protections. Because if you know where you're protected, you don't have to rush throws. If you know who you got to identify to get the ball off, you never really see Drew Brees take shots because he understands how the offense work in collaboration with what the defense is doing. So I got 7 guys in the box. I know I got 4 defenders. They start moving guys around. If there's a 2-by-2 set and there's not a guy covering the inside slot receiver, that means that's one-on-one. If there's a guy who's covering behind them, that guy who's covering the receiver down low could blitz. And so I need to be aware of that guy. And I could just say, like, when you run routes, you just knew that the ball would be in a place where you can catch it. We were playing the Patriots Monday night, and the crowd in New Orleans is electric. And we're going at it, and we got a couple of trick plays. We had a nice tight end screen where, we went starting one position. I came to the backfield. Reggie came to the backfield. Dave Moore was lined up a tight end. We had 2 receivers out. So we both flared out like it was a screen. So Drew pumped to the right, pumped to the left, came back over the middle to Dave from Texas, Texas Longhorn. He ran the middle. And right off the bat, we just kept the Patriots off guard. So we was in a goal line play. The play was designed for Jeremy Shockey to get it, but he got jammed up on the line. I was lead blocking through the goal line. I slipped the linebacker who was trying to like hit me on like an ISO. And I just turned around. As soon as the second I turned around, the ball was literally like just right there at my chest. So I'm like, man. So at the time, I had a broken fourth metatarsal. My foot was broke all the way across my left foot. So I'm just walking through it. I'm going through, and someone I caught. I'm like, man, the crowd is roaring. So I get up. I'm limping, and every time I would score, I usually try to dunk it over the goalpost. So as I'm going to the goalpost to dunk, I'm forgetting that my foot is broke, and I probably can't jump. So as soon as I go to take off, if you ever want to go load up to shoot a layup, whatever, I felt no power in my left leg, and so I'm going like, I'm not gonna make it. I thought I was gonna get arched on the rim. I was able to get to the top and kind of throw it over. I'm like, ooh. So my teammates was all there, and they was cheering. And those were just some of the. Drew always found guys. He was always appreciative. If you threw an interception, you never heard about it. He was not like a guy who, once he made a mistake, was walking around with his palms up. He really implemented what it meant to be not only a quarterback, but a leader on the field, taking responsibility for what he did well and trying to be better and lead by example, not just with his mouth. Truly a true professional through and through.
Man, speaking of the Saints and Drew Brees, do you have your ring on today? I saw those hands moving around. I thought you did. I thought I saw some flashes when those hands moved.
Well, yeah, who that nation?
Appreciate you breaking out the brass.
Right. You know,
DJ, you got that Penn State championship ring on today?
Yeah, I got that old thing.
There you go.
Look, the only ring these hands have got is a wedding ring. It's right there, guys. All right, that's it.
That's the most important championship right there. You know what I mean?
I would say I'm the least important person on every call.
Right.
Well, okay. So talk about the kids in college, man. You are so blessed to have these amazing children in college athletics at this level. Like, talk about the kids and everything, where you are right now with them.
Well, I would say, you know, being a man who didn't grow up with my father was never really around. My mother did what she could coming out of Pittsburgh. You know, having my sons in the locker room at the Super Bowl was something amazing. So there's some footage where Scott Fajita was in the locker behind me. So, you know, as we're getting dressed for the game, my sons are like pretty small, throwing the ball with Sean Payton's sons. And in the video, they're recording, but no one realizes that Scott Fajita is butt naked behind us, right? So we're trying to show the video, and his butt is just right in the back of the screen. My son's just throwing, and Colin, who plays DB at Penn State, is like, Leo, throw me the ball. And then I'm like, okay. And then we get, you know, Scott Fajita just roaming in the back. I'm like, oh my God, this is a horrible video to show people. But everybody, we showed the whole family. It was kind of a funny thing for a while, but just having children who, one, find a lane for themselves. You know, it says in the Bible, you raise your children the way they should grow, and when they grow old, they won't depart. And as men, as fathers, you know, I could truly say that sports take you away from your family a lot. Their mother had a lot of the daily responsibilities, but I would drive home. In New York, we lived in Pittsburgh, so sometimes when we head off Monday and Tuesday, I would drive like 6 hours through the night to get home, just to be able to see him. My son Khalil was just born when I just came back from NFL Europe. So just was loving the fact of having, you know, a son. This is in 2002. My daughter was already 2. She was born in 2000, and then Colin was born in 2004. Didn't mean to have them all 2 years apart, but that's kind of really good timing at that point, right? And but just getting them acclimated, they seen the game of football at a young age, and they took a liking to it. So we had them play flag football growing up, and Kayla did the basketball thing, which she wasn't that good at. She was tall, but she wasn't that good at. So she fell in love with volleyball going through middle school and became a dominant state champion in Pittsburgh, ended up going to Tulane University and being a 2-time all-conference player down there. Colin and Khalil, when Kayla got her offer, Khalil said, Dad, I want to get a scholarship too. I said, well, let's work. At this time, I had left coaching with Tampa Bay and Rutgers to just be a father. You know, it was I've seen some horror stories of men who, when you coach, is hours on hours, and you don't really get a chance to have the soft conversations, be there, especially through like a situation like COVID. Mm-hmm. And we worked at it. You know, I trained probably over 7,000 plus kids in that time. I've worked with kids from Dante Cephas to Tank Smith to, you know, DeMar Hamlin, mm-hmm. to Miles Sanders, Phil Dracovic, who was starting that pit. The list goes on and on of athletes who I've helped not only mentally, but physically. So you get to a point where your sons are around all these people. So when Phil Dracovic first left Notre Dame, he came to my backyard, and so the boys was going through recruiting. Khalil was getting recruited by a lot of people, and they're in the backyard throwing, just getting prepared. So Khalil started as a receiver, outside linebacker, and he just always excelled. And he's still a phenomenal quarterback there. So going through the process, COVID was in big. We're doing Zooms with a ton of schools. Funny fact that as we were going through it, Deion Sanders, a former teammate of mine with Baltimore, was at Jackson State. So he called, hey, Dink, I like your boys. Now, mind you, they're on their Zooms in class, and the Subway commercials on TV. Like they were Dion right there on Subway. I'm like, Dion's on the phone, guys. He wants to talk to you guys. Like, Dad, we're in class. We don't want to talk to Dion. I'm like, it was Deion Sanders, like my son.
Right.
This is them. They're just like, they're lazy people. They don't want to talk to them. So they decide to, we go through the process. Khalil decides to go to Penn State, and he knows that he has a skill set that's a little bit different. He reminds me of a faster version of Antonio Gates because he was such a phenomenal basketball player, and the way he moves and contorts his body, even still today, with as much success, is obviously Tyler's having. He's having a tremendous season, and both those boys are just getting after it, right? But Khalil is a unique blend of power, being 6'5", 250, and speed, running a sub 4.5. So when he really gets in, he's only a sophomore. So when he gets a chance to get in there, I think people are going to be surprised at his route running capabilities and creating mismatches on a consistent level. So it's going to be fun watching him. And then Colin, of course, going through a 6'2", 200-pound defensive back, and cracked his way, through a year of COVID when there's a lot of 6-year seniors. The season didn't go the way he expected. 100-yard interception returns and things of that nature, but nothing really flashy to say I want to make you a scholarship guy. So as a preferred walk-on, earning his way in, breaking his foot his first season at Penn State, and pretty much missing the first year, and earning his way onto every starting special teams group as a redshirt freshman at Penn State, the number 10 team in the country. I think that says a lot about his tenacity and his work ethic, daily. It's not an easy place to crack a lineup on any phase of the game at Penn State. So they have been working their butts off, getting A's and B's in class. And, as a father, I commend them for the way they put in work every day.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Any thoughts? And it was cool for us to be there for the whiteout game. I know I was texting you like earlier in the day, and then to see him make the catch and like both boys just excelling, like being down on the field in the middle of all that. It was insane. It was fun.
It's electric. I tell people this all the time. Obviously going to Pitt, going to Michigan games, playing against Ohio State, Notre Dame's, everywhere along the Northeast or the north part of the country. And I believe that Penn State is an SEC school in the North. It doesn't compare to any other school atmosphere that you'll get up north. I mean, from the tailgating to the electricity in the games to the whiteouts, it's just a different atmosphere in college. And it's amazing for a young man to be a part of it. And one thing after playing at Pitt or other schools, the way they bring back their alumni and do the "We Are" chants during the quarters, it shows not only, you keeping that, that alumni, constituent, really engaged, but, it's creating such prestige for the newcomers, the people who are the first time there, the freshmen in high school, or the sophomores and junior in high school who's trying to make a decision. That's something that you don't forget in your whole recruiting process. That whiteout game, that Penn State atmosphere, and it's every single week, whether it's every year, it seems like it's Penn State, Michigan, or Ohio State in the top three fighting and duking it out. So it is definitely bringing a type of, atmosphere that you want as a college football student.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, and you led right into it. So we got a big game this weekend, man. When Rutgers had Ohio State on the ropes, I guess that was last weekend. I was like, "Ooh, if they pull this off," and they didn't. But what are both of y'all's thoughts on this weekend leading into this big game?
DJ, you want to go first, and I'll go after you?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Harbaugh with this sign stealing, right? But I think
as far as Big Ten coaches,
I'm sorry.
said, what's up with these Big Ten coaches, man? It's like a soap opera out here.
Well, I people have asked me about it actually, and I used to steal signs when I wasn't playing the game, or at least work on it. It was just a baseball thing,
Yeah,
Right.
right. Like I do this all the time in Little League. I'm like looking at the coach. I'm like, oh, it's easy. I already got your stuff. Like
Right.
that dude took it to the next level, though.
Yeah, he went to the next level, no doubt.
So,
But I think it's kind of like what I said before the Ohio State game. It's really about Penn State's offense. If Penn State's offense can show up, I mean, the defense is going to give you a game. They're going to at least keep you in the game, but the offense has got to show up. If the offense has the consistency that it's shown with some of the smaller schools, only in big games, that's one thing, Darnell, that from our era, we always played smaller schools, but we were always ready for the big games.
mm-hmm.
And so their offense can be ready for this game because this is the big one.
That's right.
Right. I mean, it's Ohio State and Michigan, and so it's going to be interesting. I think, of course, we're going to be there on the sidelines. I really don't know how to call it, but I will call this: if their offense shows up, they've got a big chance of winning.
Right. I think the way that Penn State has geared their team is to look at Ohio State. So when you look at the Ohio State game the last 2 years, they want the defensive backs to match the receivers in the offense because Ohio State is always known as a high-octane offense, especially when you got Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Which he really showed the separator between him and Caden King, Caden King this past week, right? The 10 catches. So when you look at what Michigan has done, Michigan has said, okay, we will then be a heavy run team, with Corum and really try to play old school football, safe football, play action pass, and roll. So the impetus to this game is, can the defense stop the run game? Because last year they got carved up with the run game and they ran right at Penn State. They understand that Penn State is a smaller defensive front that has tremendous pressure with their speed. But when you get engaged in blocks and you start to wear them down, you can almost decimate the internal side of Penn State, which leaves it to the offense, which at times, even though they have tight ends, they look to throw on the outside the numbers, and then sometimes the run game with a lot of RPO, to the point where it can almost seem very one-dimensional. So a couple shifts in motions like they've been doing, just like when Khalil scored a touchdown, it was out of their wishbone set, you flex them out, and now with a tight end in a receiver position, it confuses the defense who takes them, a linebacker or a safety or a corner. And I think if they keep doing that, they have personnel. If you go in that wishbone set and explode to an empty set, who's going to cover the receiver? If you got a tight end outside the receiver, who's going to take them? And now you can create mismatches if they start to play outside the scope of naturally lining up. So I think they have more than enough talent to beat Michigan. But can they not allow Michigan, who has a very solid ball-hungry defense, to make plays? And can they stop the Michigan run? If they stop Michigan's run and put themselves in good field position, I believe this is a low-scoring game, and Penn State, being at home, will edge them 17-14.
Wow.
Well, so we got a prediction on the score. Went for a prediction on the score. Nice.
Right. Yeah.
That's what a good coach does.
That's right.
The offense has got to decide to dominate, and obviously the defense up front. Got it. Tracking.
Absolutely. If you start looking at what they've been doing all year, man, like sometimes you can almost dictate when they're going to go to certain guys. I think one thing that they decided to do this past week is mix up that, they'll have the tight ends and they'll flex one out, to a 3-by-1 set. So now who's taking them over here? You create some mismatches on the weak side of the line, allowing the running backs a couple more gashing yards, allowing Drew to kind of set up some more screens. So they have really been doing a good job of, dispersing the ball. But you're going to have a different type of defense in front. You have a different secondary that they're facing, this past week, this upcoming week. So, they're going to have to go into this game strapped up and ready to be. It's going to be more of a physical game, I think the Ohio State game was.
Well, speaking of screens, I tell you, I'd love to see Khalil run a screen.
Yeah,
that would be dynamic because you can see how athletic he is.
Right.
Of course, now we've seen him score touchdowns by catching them. But what I thought was interesting last week, I think it was last week, when he was actually helping Keytron get in the end zone.
Right.
With that.
They never talk about it. I record the games. Like, he literally picked them up and pushed them in the end zone. And the play before that, he was on the front side of the play. He blocked, and slipped out late to the back end. Drew found him and got a nice big game with the side. So, when you start looking at a lot of the plays, when they got the 4th and 1s or the goal line plays, Khalil is right behind either a lead blocking for the running back, which you had some good lead blocks, or on that 10, it was like 10 yards. Like, he literally pushed him the next 7 to 5 yards. So, you're really starting to see them all gel. And as a father, it's good to see your son there having fun, throwing it around, and they're playing some really good football right now.
All right, so that's my call of the year. I think Khalil should get a screen pass, and it would be the play of the game.
There you go. Bigger than the Iowa game, right?
Somebody call Franklin and work that in this weekend, huh? Come on,
guys. You, right? Got you, right? Right.
You got his digits, don't you, Darnell?
Right. I got his number. I'm gonna text him. I was thinking about a screen that Khalil had that whole.
You're gonna be like, hey, I was talking to DJ and Mike on Decide to Dominate, and
They just said this is gonna be the way that you dominate. Decide to dominate this week and put in this screen.
Man, so talk a lot about sports. So talk about this transition to business, man, and all these amazing things you're doing. Like, talk a little bit about like that transition and what you're doing with NIL and these kids and helping companies like scale up from an entrepreneurship standpoint and marketing. I mean, you're doing so much. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think that when you start looking at invention, it's usually created out of a lot of thought and being a little intuitive in terms of what problems need to be solved. And with the whole NIL space, you see a lot of people who lack the ability to be able to see the significance of a deal, right? And I see on our end, it's about educating young men and young women about the importance of education while you're getting, funds and or money. So whether if it's dealing with necklaces or dealing with, food or dealing with, apparel or vehicles, learning the significance of the deal so it can better educate you. And I think when you start to problem solve in business, that consultation side becomes huge. And what we've been able to do, whether it's developing a workforce where people are retiring out at such a high rate, being able to take the same people, mostly athletes, they wake up early in the morning, they do things, all the time with their hands. Cognitive skills are tremendous. Sometimes the cognitive skills, just the level of learning a new habit, and trying to take all these different initiatives and help people grow, like a major bartering system. So if I see people who want to get into the trades, because for every 7 retiring tradesmen, there's only 1 person replacing them. So carpenters, electricians, plumbers, drywallers, and you're starting to see it hit the construction sites and hit the apprenticeship halls, in a large capacity because they don't have people. And learning how to utilize your hands and create a routine for yourself is one of the biggest steps I could say as far as men that sometimes we may miss if there's not that type of father figure around, if there's not that type of person around. So what I try to do is be a mentor / consultant / inspiration to people who sometimes want to take different paths. So with our NIL stuff, we have been able to facilitate and function deals with people who sometimes on the radar or the list of things, are kind of unseen or unnoticed, or businesses that want to start booming in smaller markets, and they get a kid who do an ad or put a couple posting on Instagram when they see an uptick in numbers. What we've been able to do on the workforce side is be able to get people who are in underserved communities where redlining and lack of education has become a thing, and creating opportunities to get people hired in jobs and electrical unions. And just the other day, I was dealing with 2 people who've been working now for the past year, who just thanked me, said, without your support and teaching us this curriculum, not only would we have been able to be in a job, but how to deal each day. So one of the biggest parts, Mike and DJ, is that when you have transferable skills, there's things that you go from sports to the professional world. It's called soft skills. So when you can, DJ, you run the ball and a linebacker come in, cheap shot you, coach understands when you go off on them a little bit, tap them up with your fist a little bit, let them know not to do it no more. That's understandable. You get on the,
Right.
you get in the office, you can't. If somebody, spill your coffee, you can't just, punch them up real quick and expect everything to be cool. You're gonna be talking to HR and be home, right? So I had to teach them a little bit about the soda and water effect, where, many times in life, we wake up in the morning, our alarm don't go off, or the kids are running late for school. There's a lot of traffic. Somebody tapped the back of your car. Somebody flick you off for something they did. If your soda, think about having a soda bottle in your hand and a water bottle in your hand, and you're shaking both of those things every time something happens. You go to a drive-through to get your Chick-fil-A. There's 1,000 people, in Chick-fil-A line, but at the same time, you get there and they give you the wrong stuff. You get to work, your boss got something to say, and then you get home and your wife asks you, "Hey, Mike, you going to get the clothes out the dryer?" And at that point, you just had it. At that point, which bottle do you want to open up? Do you want to open up the soda, or you want to open up the water? And I think I try to teach people that we have to learn how to balance ourselves internally and be self-aware of what's affecting us. So learning to stop and just pause sometimes, is a huge part of business acumen, whether it's the NIL space with dealing with companies that can be future employers down the line, and or workforce development, where you got to learn how to associate and be in, new equitable spaces and learn how to manage yourself. But more importantly, we are showing these skills, these soft skills and these transferable skills, and we're getting a high response from people, not only getting into a lot of jobs where, businesses have need workers and employees like yesterday, but we're seeing people find value in themselves once again, who felt a little hopeless, whether coming out of COVID, coming out of situations, being furloughed, and helping people build themselves back up is a beautiful thing.
That's we have a few minutes left. One of the things, and Darnell, I know you wrote a book. Decide to Dominate is the book that I've written. Specifically in chapter 7, the title is Raining on Your Adversary. And I know you talk to these young men and women about adversity. I'm curious to understand, why did you pick that subject as one of the focal points when you're teaching and talking to these folks from a business perspective, especially?
I would say that, I found that adversity is never really about the people who you're facing. Adversity really is about how you view yourself. And I think sometimes we forget to remember how valuable we are as people. So the first chapter starts with scars. I got this scar on my face when my truck flipped over, 8 times right before I signed with the Giants. I hit a patch of black ice going to Buffalo. And how many times do we live in our scar of something that has been healed, but we're constantly picking at the scab, remembering what once was? It's like driving your car looking backwards. Eventually, you're going to crash. And I think that leads into, an element of adversity that really starts with, how do you view yourself? What do you tell yourself? In Proverbs 23:7, it says, "As a man thinks, so is he." So what are you speaking to yourself daily to deal with the adversity that you're facing? Because you're seeing this adversity as like, man, this is coming to set me back. This person is doing this. You're missing the learning opportunity within that. So with adversity, either you win or you learn, but you truly never lose based upon your thought process to it. And then one of my chapters goes into dirt, which, I think, just like the tree, sitting to your left, DJ, or the flowers that you get your wife, Mike, when, or the fruits that we get.
When I forgot to do the laundry, go ahead.
You got to do the laundry, exactly, right? I had to bring in some flowers. But, we love the gardens. We love the salads that we eat. I think that, you start to talk about your favorite fruit, you may say strawberry or cantaloupe or, mango, right? What about you, Mike? What's your favorite fruit?
Probably strawberries or bananas, I guess.
There you go. And then what's your favorite flower, DJ?
I guess I got to go with the rose, because that's what my wife loves.
There you go. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm gonna double that. I'm gonna stick with the rose. I don't want to get in trouble with the wife.
Right, there you go. See, and then if I go to a tree, I will say a palm tree because they bend but don't break, right?
Oh, all right. Like
And
that.
if you look at all those things, they all start with a seed. See, we love flowers, fruits, and trees, but we miss the significance of the dirt that those seeds grow in. And I think that those are the things that, really define who we become is the soil that we plant our own thoughts in. So if our thoughts are the seed, our mind is the field, and what we speak is how we water it. And so adversity is a very thing that allows us to really keep watering those fields when we deal with some stressful times. That seed, right? Based upon adversity, that seed sometimes probably feel like it's being buried. But that's the very thing that creates it to be birthed. Being in a dark, lonely, tight place is where germination begins. And as it pushes against the adversity of the soil, it births something new. And so those are the type of metrics that I talk to people about life, about situations, about adversity. Don't get stuck in the fact that you feel buried by it. Think about what you got to do within it so that you can grow. And if you do that, your potential is limitless in terms of how much you can sustain and develop.
Man, that's deep right there. I'm gonna go back and watch this a couple times. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, your message is so true and on point right now, especially with where I feel like society is in general. And there's just like a lot of inspiration in there. And I know you're a man of faith, as DJ and I are. Obviously, you said a couple verses on this quick chat, and there's just a lot to be said for that right now. And you mentioned DeMar earlier. I know you have a really good relationship with him, and just like seeing what he went through, and just like using his platform to just do good things. And we all aren't like NFL athletes, but in the workplace and even in the family, I mean, we're all leaders, right? So it's like taking a message like you just delivered and being able to empower someone to take that and use that in our daily living. I mean, I think there's just a lot to be said for everything you just said.
I think, man, we miss the fact that you don't know what people are going through, right, Mike? We see tons of people, DJ, you see tons of people, you don't know who's struggling. You don't know who's having a good day, but you know what? I tell people this all the time, a smile is universal. And sometimes just, hey, how are you doing today? Somebody say, are you okay? They ask how you, I'll say, I woke up today. Like that is somebody didn't, and when you simplify some of the complexity that we have in this world, I say, hey, look, you may not be having the best day, but you woke up. So make the most of this one because somebody didn't have that opportunity. And you'll be surprised how that comment makes people readjust their thought process. Like, you know what, you're right. Yeah, I may be, tripping on this, or maybe saying this. And I said to my sons all the time, well, Dad, I got this. And I said, hey, you're in college and you woke up today. Mm-hmm. That's a blessing. You know what I mean? Right. And I think when you don't make mountains out of molehills, you can see your part in the story all the time.
Yeah, truth. Well, man, I know we went a little bit over. Apologies, Darnell, but thank you for the time, man. This has been awesome. I think DJ and I would love to have you back on the show. So if people wanted to get in touch with you for your like speaking, your business, your like engagement in general, like how do they get in touch with Darnell Dinkins?
They can just email me at ddinkins@recreationships.com, RECREATIONSHIPS.com. We've gone to the email because we're restructuring some stuff right now. And it's been really just, amazing, the type of response that we've been getting. And, we will definitely stay on the grind and on the fold. And if you guys want me back on, by all means, it's a pleasure sitting with you guys. You guys know how I, roll and what we've been talking about for the past year now. So I'll tell you this, I want to commend you both for getting to this point, where you are, now streaming live and, taking steps, and I just commend you both to, keep your head, and your face forward, and the sky's the limit for both of you guys. So keep up the good work.
Look, live and direct on No Filter. And the good thing about being on this network is like I'm here at the farm, and clearly you see some people walking back and forth. We're working on the big fireplace over here today. Over there.
That's beautiful.
That's the beauty of No Filter. There's no editing anybody out.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It was back there. I'm like, this is part of my background.
Look. We've had 2 episodes, and I haven't been in that seat once yet. So, DJ, I promise you next week for Decide to Dominate, I'm going to be sitting right beside you, all right?
Are you sure? Promise?
I'm-
Next week or the week after?
I'm gonna do my best.
You guys gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to do a dare if we don't. You know what I'm saying? You got to dress up
Hey,
with somebody.
it still works.
That's right. This was a great show, guys. Thank you guys.
Man, no,
really
I'm up
appreciate
here. Yeah, I'm up there working on the barn. We're doing some construction, and we actually have a big event tonight in town. We're up for some kind of award for Vet First, which is our nonprofit. We hire vets, grow organic food, give it back. So I'm repping up here today. So
That is beautiful, man. Like this, if you can, from me, just thank them for all the service that they have given us for the freedoms that we have, the things that we missed, but we had the freedoms that we have for the wars and the battles that those men have fought for our land, for our freedom. So tell them I said thank you.
amen. Will do. All right. Well, DJ, any last words?
No, hey, just wanted to say thank you, Darnell. Always got a good word of insight and a word of wisdom, and so really appreciate your life and your stance from that perspective.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Just keep cheering for them, guys. And my last words are, "We are, baby."
Penn State.
Yeah, man. All right. Good luck. Good luck this weekend to both of you guys.
That's right. See you guys later. Good luck with your event.